A month ago, a stranger's message popped up on my WeChat. It wasn't a polite introduction or a business inquiry. It was just a photograph. And beneath the photo, a single sentence. Your husband is cutting a mango for me. My husband, Ethan Blake, a man I married, a man I believed loved me. Receiving such a blatant declaration of infidelity should have broken me. The expectation perhaps was tears, accusations, a wife undone by betrayal. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I calmly typed back, giving the woman 3 specific tasks. I wanted her to witness firsthand how the love she thought they shared was nothing but fragile, fleeting foam. I am an only child, raised in a world where privilege was the air I breathed. From a young age, I understood that my father, a managing director at one of the top 10 real estate companies, possessed more than enough wealth to ensure I could live comfortably, even lavishly, for the rest of my life without ever lifting a finger. In university, I couldn't grasp why my peers drove themselves to exhaustion chasing scholarships worth mere thousands, a sum that wouldn't even buy one of the single shoes my mother casually picked up for me on a weekend shopping trip. When I joined the workforce, I was baffled by colleagues who clung to jobs that clearly made them unhappy. What, I wondered, could possibly be more important than one's own happiness? My husband, Ethan, and I met during my senior year internship at a psychology industry summit. He was the business development manager for the organizers. I was a quiet observer sent by my small firm. I remember the day clearly. Riding up the express elevator, I happened to be alongside a nationally renowned psychologist. Everyone else in the confined space surged forward, clamoring for his attention, exchanging pleasantries, desperately seeking contact information. I stood quietly at the back, hands clasped loosely in front of me, unmoved. After the summit concluded, a man approached me. I honestly didn't think you were part of this industry, he said, a curious smile on his face. I looked up. The man, dressed in a sharp suit, was gazing at me with genuine amusement. When he smiled fully, his lower eyelids crinkled, and his eyes curved into perfect crescent moons. He looked genuinely delighted by something. What do you mean? I asked, bewildered. In the elevator earlier, seeing the famous psychologist, you weren't excited at all. Oh, I replied, the reason so obvious to me that it hadn't occurred to me it might be unusual. If I truly wanted to meet that particular psychologist, my father could make a phone call and I could have him over for lunch tomorrow. Why would I need to jostle for a moment of his time in a crowded elevator? The man handed me his business card. Ethan Blake, business director. Then he added me on WeChat. And then he pursued me. Ethan was, by all outward appearances, a perfect boyfriend. He remembered the exact dates of my menstrual cycle, ensuring a thermos of warm brown sugar water was always in my bag before my period arrived. He patiently accompanied me shopping, offering genuine, thoughtful advice as I tried on clothes, unlike the dismissive, macho attitudes of other men I'd encountered. He even made a point of regularly bringing gifts for my parents. Yes, my boyfriend had to acknowledge and respect the people who raised me. Yet, when Ethan visited our home, my father occasionally seemed less than thrilled. I asked him why, if something was wrong. He'd smile sadly, saying only, my little cotton-padded jacket is being stolen. Daddy just hates to see you go. I'd hug him tight, promising, I'll always be Daddy's little cotton-padded jacket. Later, just as my parents hoped, I married Ethan happily, or so I believed. At the wedding, I overheard whispers among the guests. Mr. Harrison's fortune, easily claimed by an outsider. No house, no car of his own. But we had love. That's what mattered, surely. These cynical, materialistic people couldn't understand. This love, this carefully constructed edifice, was violently torn open a month ago, forcing me to confront its hollow core. That day, I finished a client session and opened my phone to see a new WeChat contact request. Many clients reached out online for initial consultations, so I accepted the request without a second thought. But this wasn't a client. The moment I accepted, she sent a picture. The photo showed a man bent over a golden mango, slicing it with a fruit knife. His face was obscured, but his hands were visible. Then came the second message. Your husband is cutting a mango for me. That simple declarative sentence hit me like a physical blow, leaving me breathless, disoriented. Reading the implicit mockery, the blatant claim over my husband, a sharp, searing pain tightened around my heart. I took a deep, shuddering breath like a soldier bracing for battle, and trembling I zoomed in on the picture. The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. The man in the photo was Ethan. I recognized the scar on the back of his left hand, near the base of his thumb. He'd told me the story. A foolish childhood experiment after a physics lesson on friction and heat transfer. He'd rubbed a steel ruler on the ground until it was hot, then tested the temperature by touching it to his palm. He'd forgotten how quickly metal conducts heat, resulting in a painful blister that left a permanent scar when it popped. I had laughed at him for days, calling him silly but sweet. Now that scar, stained with golden mango juice, confirmed my worst fears. The new contact's WeChat profile was blank. No avatar, no signature, no moments posted. Even the WeChat ID was a random string of letters and numbers. My mind raced, trying to decipher the motive. Finally, forcing a steadiness I didn't feel, I typed, "Who are you?" I waited and waited. No reply. Long pressing the photo, I saved it to my phone, then calmly exited the chat. Years of privilege had instilled in me a certain pride. To send another message, to beg for an explanation, would show weakness, desperation. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. After graduation, my father had funded my psychology consulting studio in Pudong. Even now, years later, business wasn't particularly booming. Everyone said it was because I had it too good, wonderful parents, a doting husband. People seeking psychological help were often in deep pain, struggling with realities I couldn't possibly understand from my gilded cage. They said my life of ease made me unrelatable. And yes, Ethan was so good to me. He always knew how to comfort me, telling me my career would grow slowly, that I didn't need to rush. How could he possibly be unfaithful? A single photo. What did a single photo truly prove? Yet, the fear gnawed at me, a cold knot in my stomach. Because after we married, I had discovered that Ethan's preferences were the opposite of me. He admired intellectual women who were fair-skinned and well-endowed. He'd mentioned his favorite adult film actress, an intelligent woman with specific physical attributes, a graduate of a prestigious university. I was just a graduate of an ordinary school, flat-chested, sometimes prone to spoiled tantrums, and perhaps overly clingy. My head began to ache, a dull, throbbing pain. I didn't want to ask, didn't want to hear, didn't want to face the possibility that my marriage, the foundation of my perceived happiness, was a lie. As long as Ethan continued to be good to me, anything else was just a trivial obstacle to our love. Just then, a message from Ethan popped up. Client gave me 2 tickets for the musical tonight, The Red and the Black. Adapted from Stendhal. I'll pick you up after work. He followed it with a picture of the musical poster. See, Ethan always remembered my preferences. Despite his origins in a remote village in Anhui, with no innate interest in theater or French literature, he always made an effort, always adapted for me, accompanied me to everything I enjoyed. Wasn't that proof of his love? Okay. I typed back, adding a heart emoji. See you, darling. Unlike his usual habit of waiting in the basement parking garage, I left my office early and went down to the street level. I yearned to run into his arms, to tell him how much I loved him, how scared I was, and he would stroke my hair and call me his silly girl. I stood by the curb watching for his car. He arrived exactly on time. Sliding into the passenger seat, I buckled my seatbelt, murmuring his name affectionately. Darling. Then, out of habit, I picked up his phone already connected to CarPlay to set up the navigation. The musical was at the Culture Square in Huangpu District. My office was in Pudong. On a Friday evening, Shanghai traffic was notorious. Even the most experienced driver needed navigation to plot the least congested route. I unlocked his phone, opened the map app, and went to search for the destination. We had been to the Culture Square just last month, so I went to recents instead of typing. It wasn't on the first screen. I clicked more history. There it was. But not just Culture Square. Also, a university in Baoshan District. And right next to it, a hotel. My breath caught in my throat. No, it couldn't be. Ethan wouldn't do this to me. He's a business director, he meets clients, suppliers. Maybe hotels are quiet, suitable for business meetings? My grip tightened on the phone, my hands starting to tremble uncontrollably. I sat there in the passenger seat, staring at the screen for what felt like an eternity. Ethan, sensing my unusual silence, finally turned to look at me, his eyes widening as he registered the shock and distress on my face. Panic flared in his eyes. His gaze darted between me and the road ahead. His hands gripped the steering wheel, the left one with a scar, nervously rubbing the smooth surface. In that moment, impossible dissolved, replaced by a terrifying, undeniable possible. The rest of the drive was silent. My mind was a whirlwind of chaotic thoughts. I remembered a conversation with a colleague from my internship days. I couldn't understand why he stayed at a job that made him miserable. He'd asked me, "Have you ever played the game, King of Glory?" I'd shaken my head. Looking at me with weary, knowing eyes, he'd said, "The character Dodgy reminds me of you." I hadn't understood. I looked up pictures of Dodgy later. She was cute. I teased him. "If you want to compliment me, just say so." His face had been a mask of exhaustion. "She has a line," he'd said quietly. "Why be in pain? Just keep smiling. It's just like you." I didn't fully grasp his meaning then, but I knew from his expression it wasn't a compliment. Now I understood. Pain was everywhere in the world, but my parents had shielded me from it. Later I saw it, but I had trained myself to look away, to ignore it, to keep smiling. But today, right now, my marriage, my belief in love itself was crumbling. I could continue to smile, to pretend everything was fine, or I could choose. Ethan kept glancing at me during the silent drive, visibly distressed by my reaction. He even slammed on the brakes abruptly twice, startling me. A decision solidified within me. I turned. My head met his anxious gaze and offered him a small, deliberate smile. "What are you looking at?" I said, my voice calm, almost gentle. "Watch the road. You crossed the line just now." That night, I sent a message to the WeChat contact who had sent the photo. "Let's meet." After a long delay, she replied, "Okay, at your office." She knew where I worked. I didn't even know if she was a man or a woman. "All right. Monday at 4 p.m. My schedule was full that day. That was the only slot I had free. She didn't even reply received. The conversation ended. Felt like a challenge. Monday morning, I carefully did my skincare, blow-dried my hair, applied light makeup. Then, reaching for the unopened highlighters and contouring kit I'd bought months ago, I hesitated. "Heh, you don't even look like yourself anymore." I mocked myself in the mirror for a moment, put the makeup away, smoothed my hair, and left the bathroom. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, an unfamiliar young woman was sitting in the office waiting area. One glance was enough. I knew who she was. Long flowing hair, wearing a simple cotton and linen dress. No jewelry, the quintessential literary look. But her fair skin and the slight tremble in her chest as she looked up at me hinted at a raw, captivating sensuality. This was the type Ethan liked. I gave her a small nod and a smile, pretending not to recognize her, and went back to my office. Punctually at 4, I had my assistant, Chloe, bring the woman in. She walked in initially with an air of righteous indignation, but stopped dead, looking around the office, her eyes taking everything in. I could see her assessing the space. This office was expensive, but my father had insisted on it. A beautiful office built. Trust, he'd said. And he was right. Not just trust from clients and partners, but envy from competitors. And now, confusion from this woman. She took a deep breath and sat across from me. Without preamble, without a single greeting, she cut straight to the chase. "Everyone has the right to pursue love, don't they?" I maintained my upright posture, but her opening words startled me. This was not the conversation I had anticipated. "Aren't you going to introduce yourself first?" I gently derailed her attempt to establish dominance, subtly cutting off her carefully built momentum. My privileged upbringing meant I instinctively refused to place myself in a position of being lesser than anyone else. She said her name was Lily Foster. I suspected it was a pseudonym. 22 years old, a university senior in Baoshan. Her accent told me she wasn't local. Of course, a local girl wouldn't agree to be a hidden figure for a married man, even Ethan. "Inherent human rights," she declared, her voice rising slightly. "Even with the constraints of marriage, people have the right to courageously pursue love and freedom. All people are equal. The world shouldn't even have marriage." Her emotions escalated with every sentence, each word a challenge, a declaration that she was right, Ethan was right, and love itself was beyond reproach. The error, she implicitly claimed, lay with me. I was wrong, but not in the way she thought. I didn't argue back. I rarely had the energy for confrontation. I was never good at debates, certainly not with someone who had clearly rehearsed their arguments. I deliberately dropped the pen in my hand. I bent down to retrieve it. I said, "Let me just pick this up." She paused her impassioned speech. I used this tactic often when I wanted to interrupt someone without being overtly confrontational. When I looked up, she seemed to have lost her place. I took the opportunity to speak first. "Are you an Aquarius?" She stared at me, surprised by the sudden change of topic, but nodded slowly. How did you know?" How could I not know? I was an Aquarius too. In university, I was so caught up in romantic ideals I was completely detached from reality. Characters like Lady Chatterley, stories like The Lover. They epitomized my view of love back then. Utterly naive. Even my father was exasperated by my romanticism. Thankfully, my ascendant sign had shifted to Taurus, making me more grounded, more practical. "Just a guess," I said with a slight smile. "Such a romantic." Lily seemed annoyed by my easy insight, and by my nonchalant attitude. Her tone stiffened again. "Can you just let him go? And let yourself go too? Stop wasting each other's time." Increasing resentment. As she spoke, tears welled up, clinging to her eyelids before slowly tracing paths down her cheeks. Her young face was etched with hurt and accusation, combined with her chest rising and falling with each sob. It was a picture designed to elicit sympathy from any male observer. I reached for a tissue to offer her, but her next sentence stopped my hand mid-air. "You don't even have a sex life anymore. A sexless marriage won't last." Did Ethan tell you that?" My voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," she sniffled, looking wounded. "He's been so suppressed by your marriage." "Suppressed? Suppressed for too long?" "Just last week, Ethan and I had celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary at the Ritz, spending a night of intimacy. That night he had even asked me, 'Darling, maybe we should try, Viagra? To make our anniversary extra special.' Ethan often proposed various ways to keep our relationship fresh, and that idea had made me laugh. 'Maybe not,' I'd said, poking him playfully. 'That feels weird.' He chuckled, but despite my refusal, it had been a night of intense connection. 3 times, multiple positions. Especially by the window on the beige sofa, with the lights of the Oriental Pearl Tower glittering outside. Ethan had been particularly fervent behind me. More so than even on our first night together. I stared at Lily's trembling chest, a wave of nausea rising within me. That night on the sofa, he chosen a position where he couldn't see my face, so that he could imagine this Lily's heaving chest, her youthful form instead of me. "What do you love about him?" I asked, my voice flat. Lily looked down, blushing. She had met Ethan at a music festival. It was the first time she had seen such a melancholic man. While everyone else was celebrating, he stood alone outside, smoking, burdened by unspoken worries, his eyes as deep and soulful as a movie star's. Of course, Ethan was there for a business meeting that day. 6 men had asked Lily for her WeChat that day, but only Ethan had told her to go back to school early, saying it was dangerous for a young woman to be out alone. A young woman, perhaps influenced by romantic movies and novels, had mistaken this calculated distinction for the spark of true love, a fire that would never dim, a bond like canned pineapple, eternally fresh. Ethan had offered to take her back to school, opened her car door, buckled her seatbelt and watched until she entered her dorm building. That day she fell for the thoughtful, meticulous Ethan Blake. Later, when she had her period, he would order her ginger tea and warm packs via delivery. Every time they went out, Ethan would instinctively position himself between her and the street, shielding her. Listening to these seemingly sweet anecdotes, I felt only a bitter irony. Lily was certainly naive to believe the tenderness of a married man. But wasn't I even more ridiculous? Believing these performative gestures were the building blocks of love. "Did you see the wedding ring on his hand?" I asked directly, my voice devoid of accusation, merely seeking clarification. Ethan had deliberately removed his ring. Then Lily was simply a victim of deception. But Lily hesitated, her eyes shifting nervously away. "But he told me your marriage was just a formality, that it exists only in name. He said he would definitely divorce you." "Oh, so not naive, just foolish." As I had been, overlooking the obvious signs of my marriage's superficiality. "Did he say when he would divorce me?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "He said, when your mother's illness gets better. That's when he would be free of this family." My mother's illness? Did he mean the cosmetic procedures? The hyaluronic acid? The thermage treatments she used to maintain her youthful appearance? Seeing my bewildered expression, Lily added, her voice rising again. Please just let Ethan go. I can lose everything else, but I can't lose this love. I looked at her tear-streaked face, my own expression blank. Have you told Ethan you came to see me? Lily hesitated again, then admitted. No. All right, I said, a plan forming in my mind. You agree to 3 things. Do exactly as I say. If after completing these 3 tasks you still feel the same way about him, I will step aside. The condition is absolute secrecy about this meeting. Lily's eyes lit up instantly, but she didn't immediately agree. What if you ask me to kill someone? Nothing illegal, nothing immoral. If you don't want to do something, you can refuse at any time. Okay. You can't go back on your word. An unspoken agreement hung in the air. Lily, her chest high with renewed confidence, left. I scheduled a health check for my mother. It was in the VIP section, no waiting required. Ethan and I just needed to accompany her. Ethan was, as always, the picture of a solicitous son-in-law, fussing over mother, asking about her well-being. In every consultation room, he was the one asking the most questions of the doctors. Doctor, does this nodule require surgery? Any medication needed? Are you sure, doctor? At what size should we be concerned about this nodule? What precautions should we take in daily life? Okay, doctor, thank you. Over 40 items on the checkup list, excluding the gynecological exam. Ethan asked detailed questions about almost everything. Perfect. Concerned son-in-law. As we left, the front desk attendant smiled and asked, would you prefer an electronic copy of the report? Or a paper one? I deliberately avoided looking at Ethan, addressing mother instead. Paper is fine, Mom. It's easier to review anytime. Okay. Could you please leave your address for delivery? Darling, I said, turning to Ethan, leave your address. You were the one asking all the detailed questions. All right, he replied, seemingly unaware of the subtle trap I was setting. A week later, the report was mailed out. Same city, next day delivery. Lily's WeChat message arrived on my phone. It's set. Meeting tonight. The first of the 3 tasks I'd given Lily was to arrange to meet Ethan at a specific time. Immediately after work on the day the medical report was delivered. Ethan wouldn't risk staying out overnight, and I knew the report had arrived, so he would definitely have it with him. He has a document in his bag, I messaged Lily. Remember to find it and take a look. What document? She replied. My mother's medical report. It was almost 11 that night when Ethan came home. The usual spring in his step was gone, replaced by a slight weariness. I pretended not to notice, playing the role of a dutiful daughter concerned about her mother's health. Let me see the report. Is everything okay? Yes, it's fine, he said, pulling a slightly crumpled envelope from his bag, just as I expected. I took the report to the study, opened my laptop, and began looking up the medical terms I didn't understand. I also messaged Lily. Did you read it? Lily must have still been awake. Her reply was instantaneous. He said the illness is intermittent. Did you believe him? After several seconds of seeing the typing notification disappear and reappear, she finally sent 2 words. I believed. Yes. Without my confirmation, I would have believed him too. You were my strong medicine, Lily. What I wondered would be yours. Lily returned to my office. I placed a transparent file folder on the desk between us. Inside were a lab report with altered names and a positive pregnancy test. When I slid it towards her, she barely glanced at the details before her composure shattered. Her voice rose sharply. You're pregnant. Not me. You are. The second task. Lily was to tell Ethan she was pregnant. Lily faltered. Before the first task, the Lily who had argued about everyone's right to love would have seized this immediately, perhaps already envisioning Ethan divorcing me to marry her. But now that confidence was shaken. Still a flicker of eagerness remained in her eyes. She desperately needed to know the depth of Ethan's feelings for her. I didn't offer any advice. I simply went to the pantry and made her a cup of coffee, a new batch of heavily roasted beans I had bought last month. When I returned to the meeting room with the white bone china cup, Lily was still sitting rigidly in her seat, staring at the lab report on the table. I placed the coffee in front of her. She looked up at me but couldn't find the words. Try it, I said. New beans heavy roast. You usually can't find this at a cafe. She seemed to have no knowledge of coffee. She picked up the cup, took a sip and frowned. It's bitter. Yes, I said, a faint, knowing smile touching my lips. But it's addictive. Lily eventually agreed. As she left, I gave her a gift box set of baby bottles. First-time customers at this maternity hospital usually get a welcome gift, I said. Take it. She didn't question it, taking the box with her. The box contained 2 different sized bottles and a small listening device hidden in the cardboard padding. 2 days later, Ethan was working late as planned. Sitting at my computer listening, I almost laughed. Catching a cheating spouse was incredibly convenient, I realized. The timing was perfect. Your husband is busy with his mistress, leaving you free to make all your arrangements. Putting on my headphones, the first sounds I heard were intimate whispers, punctuated by soft movements and explicit murmurs. You're so big, I heard Ethan say. So soft. But then Lily stopped him, preventing the recording from turning into pure audio pornography. Brother, I'm pregnant. What? Ethan's voice was sharp, disbelieving. Look, 2 lines. I'm pregnant. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a baby? Then you can divorce your wife, and we can get married. Silence. Then Ethan's voice, cold and measured. Did you get it checked out? These things aren't very accurate. Lily was silent for a moment, sensing the sudden shift, the alarming lack of enthusiasm. The conversation wasn't going the way she had hoped. Ethan clearly had no intention of having a child with her. But she pressed on, her voice rising, no longer soft or meek. You think I'm lying? No, Lily, I'm just worried this isn't accurate. Well, I went to the hospital. I got checked. I am pregnant. They even found the heartbeat. The sound of rustling paper. She must have been showing him the fake report. Brother, let's get married. Ethan didn't answer. I watched the time on the corner of my screen. Over 2 minutes passed. No conversation, just muffled sounds. Lily couldn't bear the silence any longer. Do you want this baby? And are you going to divorce her or not? Ethan, sensing her anger, quickly tried to pacify her. You're still so young, you haven't even graduated. Are you going to give up your career for a baby? Then, before Lily could press him further, he abruptly ended the call. Just wait for my message. Then came the sound of a door closing, and Lily's heartbroken sobs. For the next 3 days, Lily didn't contact me. Ethan didn't go to see her. But Ethan's smoking increased dramatically. Every night, I'd hear him on the balcony, frowning, puffing away, the glow of his phone screen illuminating his anxious face. He hated the smell of smoke. He had quit for me. But I knew he only pretended to quit. Now, consumed by anxiety, he was smoking more heavily than ever. When a person is consumed by a single emotion, they tend to overlook everything else. He didn't question why I didn't complain about the smoke. He didn't question how, with just a glass door between us, I could see his phone screen stuck on their chat interface. On the 4th day, Lily stormed into my office, pushing past my assistant, her face a mask of fury. What did you say to Ethan? I feigned surprise, my expression blank. Lily was gasping for air. Dressed in a haphazard black t-shirt, dark jeans and ill-fitting beige flats mismatched and cheap. Her face was bare of makeup. She rubbed at her eyes wildly, wiping away the tears that streamed down her face. Did you say something to Ethan? She demanded, her voice breaking. Tears streamed down her face, uncontrollable. I met her gaze honestly. No, I said calmly. I didn't say anything. Lily stared at me, eyes wide, tears still falling. He hasn't replied to my messages in a day. Last night he even said goodnight. Lily had become the discard. Ethan won't let you have the baby, and he won't marry you. In fact, he doesn't love you at all. I brutally shattered the last shred of hope clinging to Lily's heart. Lily wouldn't accept it. Then does he love you? Is it just because you're richer than me? Because you have a beautiful office? Because you're... Lily couldn't finish. She was defeated, her insecurity laid bare. The word she couldn't utter was probably something she could never achieve herself. Does Ethan love you just for these external things? I looked down at the photo on my desk. A picture of Ethan, my parents, and me. He probably loved my father. He loved his status, his wealth. And as a bonus, he loved me, the only daughter. Do you still want to proceed with the 3rd task? I asked Lily. She looked deflated, automatically shaking her head. But I did. The strong medicine was just at her lips. Did she want to stop now? Not a chance. This entire charade had begun. No one was backing out. Midway, I would tear away all the masks, reveal the ugly truth, even if it caused pain. I fixed my gaze on Lily, my voice firm, carrying the weight of unspoken authority, leaving no room for argument. The third step will show you exactly who Ethan loves. Ethan's company lobby. Lily waited for him for 3 hours. I waited too for 3 hours, hidden behind a potted plant in the lobby. Cafe. Finally, Lily cornered him. It was the first time she had spoken to him since he stopped replying to her messages and calls. Do you not love me anymore? Lily's voice was heartbreakingly fragile, just as I had first seen her, her chest rising and falling with each sob. But Ethan was no longer affected. What do you want? His voice was tight, simmering with barely suppressed annoyance. Didn't I tell you to wait for my message? What are you doing showing up here? His voice was rising, laced with irritation. Are you trying to ruin me? What are you afraid of? Lily retorted, her voice hardening. You were the one who talked about divorce. Why are you acting like a coward now, Ethan? Ethan's voice snapped, raising several decibels. I did say divorce, but not now. He stepped closer to Lily, his voice turning icy. Get rid of the baby. I'll pay. Do you understand? Be obedient. Lily was stunned, speechless, intimidated by the raw anger emanating from him. Even when facing the man she loved, when a man truly loses his temper, a woman feels an instinctive fear of being struck, fear of something worse. Lily recoiled a step. At that moment, I called Ethan's phone. Darling, are you ready? I'm in the car. Coming. Just stepped out. Ethan turned to leave, but Lily lunged, grabbing his arm. Ethan, if you don't explain yourself today, you're not leaving. Ethan's patience snapped. With a rough shove, he sent Lily sprawling to the ground. If she had truly been pregnant, she would have miscarried instantly. Ethan looked down at Lily on the floor, his voice cold, dismissive, like shooing away a bothersome beggar. Can't you understand plain language? I walked over to the car, holding 2 bottles of Evian water. Ethan stood beside the car, his face dark, brooding. Where did you go? He asked. To the convenience store. To buy some water. Getting into the car, Ethan drove aggressively, slamming the gas pedal, as if venting his frustration. Suddenly, around a corner, Lily darted into the road. Ethan slammed on the brakes narrowly, avoiding hitting her. I gasped, a wave of cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. Lily ran to the driver's side window, yelling at Ethan. But Ethan didn't open the window, turning up the music instead. Is that? I forced myself to maintain a calm facade, feigning ignorance, asking about Lily. Ethan leaned back in his seat, his face a mask of irritation. Don't know her. Some crazy person. The next day, I received a WeChat message from Lily. Help me. This time we met at Lily's rented apartment. Standing in the room, I looked around. The colors were harmonious, but everything about the place screamed young and struggling. The curtains were plain linen, artistic maybe, but thin, letting in too much light, disrupting sleep. The chest of drawers was natural wood, but clearly made of composite. Board, not solid wood. It wobbled if you leaned on it. The bedsheets were wrinkled, not downy soft. They wouldn't feel luxurious against the skin, if it weren't for the presence of Lily, who bore a striking resemblance to Ethan's preferred actress. Ethan, accustomed to the refined luxury of his own home, wouldn't have spent more than a few minutes here. My attention shifted to Lily herself. I was shocked. Her arms were bruised, clearly visible, and there was a bump on her forehead. Last night, he came over. Her voice was small, broken. I thought he came to make up, but he came to argue. He said I shouldn't have shown up in front of you. He kept insisting I get rid of the baby. He hit you? I asked, looking at her injuries. Lily's expression was dejected. She shook her head, then nodded, then finally looked down. Maybe he just did it by accident. Did you tell him? I told him. The third task, Lily, was to ask Ethan for money. Not a huge amount, just 100,000 renminbi. The reason, not only for the abortion, but also because her parents had been in an accident and needed money for surgery. I had prepared fake documents, a Photoshop diagnostic report, fabricated hospital payment records, and given them to Lily. She had shown them to Ethan last night. Ethan, upon hearing her story, finally stopped yelling. After a while, his demeanor calmed. "I'll arrange it," he'd said. Lily believed him. But the next day, Ethan blocked Lily on WeChat, and his phone went straight to voicemail. "Did I ask for too much money?" she asked me, still clinging to hope. "Not dead yet." I took out my phone, opened the banking app. I still had access to Ethan's account. I pulled up the balance screen and showed it to Lily. "This is Ethan's account balance," I said. 7 figures. Lily stared at the screen for a long time. Finally, she collapsed onto the sofa, weeping uncontrollably, her grief raw and heart-wrenching. July. It was the month of Lily's graduation. It was also my Cancerian father's birthday. Due to the pandemic and my own deliberate arrangements, we were celebrating only as a family. That morning, I texted Lily the address and time of the birthday dinner. She replied, "Be there." At the restaurant, Ethan was busy toasting my father, offering a seemingly endless stream of elaborate, non-repetitive compliments. I watched him, a butterfly flitting from one person to another, a perfect performance. I waited for the agreed-upon time. 8 o'clock. Lily pushed open the private room door. Everyone in the room except me froze. Ethan's face turned instantly pale upon seeing Lily. Father, noticing Ethan's reaction, then glanced at me, calmly sipping my tea. He understood. Father was always adept at reading subtle cues and navigating complex social situations. He subtly signaled to Mother, who also quickly masked her surprise and confusion. Ethan, recovering first, went on the offensive. "Who are you? Did you come to the wrong room? Can't you see we're having a private dinner?" Lily today was not easily intimidated. "Ethan Blake, stop pretending. Are you going to deny the truth in front of your wife? Are you even a man? Get out. Get out. I don't know you," Ethan yelled, stepping forward, trying to push Lily away. Lily shoved Ethan aside, looking him dead in the eye. "My father broke his leg and needs surgery. And I need money for the abortion, the recovery, the emotional distress. 10,000. Give it to me, and I'll never bother you again." Ethan laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. He doubled down on his pretense. "Who is this smelly beggar?" Lily was prepared. She pulled the pregnancy report from her bag and slapped it onto the dining table. The bird's nest soup in the bowl in front of me, untouched, almost spilled. The performance was escalating. Lily turned to me, her voice loud and clear, speaking to me but challenging Ethan. "Your husband is having an affair. This is the proof." She looked back at Ethan, desperate, reckless. "If you don't give me the money, I'll give this report directly to her." Ethan exploded. All pretense of control vanished. Grabbing a white porcelain teacup from the table, he lunged, raising it to throw at Lily's head. "Ethan, stop." Father's voice, calm but commanding, cut through the chaos. Ethan might ignore me, but he would never disobey Father. "Dad," Ethan stammered, the cup frozen mid-air. "Is what the young lady says true? Don't make me ask you a third time." Father's gaze was unwavering, boring into Ethan. I. Ethan panicked, a hint of a sob in his voice. Then he knelt. "Dad, I was wrong. I was foolish, I messed up. Wife, I love you. I don't want to divorce you. No one will take care of you if you leave me." He crawled towards me on his knees. "Wife, I promise it will never happen again. I was a fool, I deserve to die." I continued sipping my tea, watching the scene unfold. My parents were also waiting for my response. "We're getting a divorce." Ethan scrambled forward, clinging to my legs. "Wife, I love you. I don't want to divorce you. No one will take care of you when you leave me." Watching his pathetic display, I felt a profound, sickening realization. What on earth had I ever seen in this man? "I'm not asking for your opinion." I stood up, intending to leave. But Ethan clung to my legs, his grip like iron. I couldn't shake him off. Father walked over and kicked Ethan away. "Get lost. I know exactly what you were after. Did you think if you didn't divorce her, my wealth would eventually be yours after we were gone?" Ethan loosened his grip on me, his attention caught by Father's words. "You truly thought you could make fools of our family." Father's voice was cold, hard. "My fortune is already in a trust. Only my daughter and my grandchildren can inherit it." The truth hit Ethan like a physical blow. His plan, his entire calculation, had been built on a false premise. He stumbled back, muttering, "Impossible. Impossible." As father and mother led me out of the room, Lily followed close behind. Ethan remained kneeling on the floor, repeating impossible. Walking out of the restaurant, Lily said to me, "Your father is so good to you." "Yes," I replied, a quiet appreciation filling me. Backed by my father's influence, Ethan voluntarily agreed to a divorce settlement. Lily graduated. I sent her a WeChat message. "Send me your bank account number." "Why?" she replied. "The 100,000. I'll give it to you." "No, I don't want it. It's not mine to take." "Okay," I typed back. 2 months later, Ethan showed up at my office again. It happened to be the first day of my period. He brought a thermos of ginger tea standing there looking pathetic. "Wife." He launched into a torrent of apologies and pleas. I finally called security and had them escort him out. Over the next year, my studio's business unexpectedly boomed, growing exponentially. My focus was no longer on him or anyone else. It was on myself and building a life on my own terms.